Hey guys, what's going on? Kryzarel here. In this video, we are going to take a look at how to make an infinite scrollable inventory. For those of you guys that prefer a dynamic inventory as opposed to our default one, which has a fixed number of slots, this is the video for you. We're going to start out by using the crafting window as a basis because it is already scrollable and allows for an arbitrary number of elements, and it also has item slot objects that we can reuse. We'll start out by duplicating the crafting window and changing its name to infinite inventory. Then we need to remove the crafting window component from the parent object. We'll need to also remove the vertical layout group from the content game object and instead add a grid layout group. For the grid layout group settings, we're going to set a padding of 8 on all sides and a spacing of 8.8 both in the x and y coordinates, leaving the cell size at 100. That fits just right with our item slots. We also need to change the last setting to fixed column count and set it to a value of 5. After that, we can delete all objects parented under the content object, except we need to keep one single crafting item slot by unparenting it from its respective crafting recipe UI. We can rename this item slot to infinite item slot, and after that we need to go into the child object and remove the base item slot component and instead add a item slot component. We can also activate the vertical scroll bar and reassign the reference in the scroll rect component, because these item slots, since they don't have the base item slot component, they have the item slot component. These slots will not be click-through, meaning that we won't be able to simply drag the window by pressing with the mouse anywhere that we want. So a scroll bar might come in handy, although we can still use the scroll wheel anyways. With this done, we have our UI for the infinite inventory complete, so we should turn this object into a prefab, and we should also turn the infinite item slot object into a prefab as well. Just to make sure that we've done everything correctly, we can duplicate the infinite item slot a bunch of times, confirming that it gets positioned correctly along the grid layout group, and we can duplicate quite a few of these and then enter play mode and confirm that we can scroll through all of the slots. And now let's make our infinite inventory script. We'll delete all of the Unity stuff and make it extend from our existing inventory script. By doing this, without implementing anything else, we already have the behavior of our current inventory by default. But on top of this, we'll need to add a new serialized field variable to hold the reference to the item slot prefab. We'll need this to dynamically instantiate new item slots whenever the size of our infinite inventory changes. Ideally, I would like the item slot prefab variable to be of type item slot and not game object. Unfortunately, we can't do that since the object that we want to reference does not have the item slot component. That component is in its child object. Then we'll need a new serialized field int max slots variable and a public int max slots property. The serialized field variable will allow us to set the starting number of item slots through the inspector, but the public property is what will allow us to change the number of item slots after the code is running. For the setter of this property, I prefer to create a new method because the code gets a little bit complicated. First off, let's make some safety checks. If we try to set the number of item slots to 0 or less than 0, then just set it to 1. There's no point in having an inventory with 0 item slots, and negative item slots doesn't make any sense at all. Otherwise, we can just set the max slots variable to the number of slots that we want. Then I'd like to make this as robust as possible, so that means taking into account two different cases. The case where we want more item slots than the ones that we currently do, and that's pretty easy, we just need to instantiate extra item slots. And I'd also like to cover the case where we want to set the max number of item slots in our inventory to less than the ones that we currently do. So that means destroying and removing item slots that we currently have. But before we can do anything, there is already a little bit of a problem here. The data structure that is holding our item slots in the item container class is an array. That means that there's no easy way to add new item slots. That's not very convenient. We need to change this into a list. This needs the system collections generic namespace. The getComponentsInChildren call that we're doing no longer works because this returns an array. Fortunately, there is an override of this function that receives a list as an input parameter and fills the list for us. We'll just need to pass our item slots list into the result parameter. Besides that, we'll need to change all of the places where we are trying to access the length property, because lists don't have a length property, instead it is called count. So let's select all of this by pressing Ctrl D repeatedly with the use of our wonderful select next occurrence extension, and just replace length to read count instead. By going into Unity, we can take a look at any errors that we still have. In the infinite inventory script, we need to change length to count once again. In the inventory script, we need to change the getComponentsInChildren call to the override that receives the list as an argument. And in the item stash, we will need to do the exact same thing. So this should fix all of our errors. Let's go back to the infinite inventory script and finish our implementation. So let's start with the second case, where we want to have more item slots than we currently do in our inventory. First, we'll need to calculate how many extra item slots we need to add. We can do this by subtracting the number of item slots that we want with the number of item slots that we have. Since we already know that the slots that we want is a larger amount, we can safely do this without getting negative values. Then we'll just need to do a for loop starting at 0 and ending at our diff value, and for each of these we'll need to instantiate a new item slot. We'll need to set this new item slot to the correct parent. Fortunately, we already have an items parent variable in our inventory script. Unfortunately, this variable is private, so let's change it to protected now. We also don't need our object to keep its current world position, so we can just pass false to the world position stays input parameter. And now we need to add our new item slot that we just created into the item slots list. But we can't add it directly. We need to get its item slot component. So, as we discussed previously, that component is in the child of this object. So we need to do getComponentInChildren of type item slot. So now let's cover the other case, when we want less item slots than the ones that we have currently. We can start by doing a for loop that starts out at max slots index and goes until itemslots.count, and will destroy all of the item slots in this range. But as we discussed previously, the item slots that are added to the list are the component in the child object of the actual item slot prefab. So we need to go into the transform, get the parent object, and then destroy that game object. So the reason for the values in this for loop are as follows. We know that we want to have max slots number of slots, and since lists are index-based, meaning they start at 0, we know that the last slot that we want to keep is at index max slots minus 1. So if we start out at the index immediately after that, which is just max slots, and we loop through until the end of the list, all of those slots are no longer useful to us and we can safely destroy them. But this isn't enough, we also need to remove the references to those slots from the item slots list. In order to do that, let's once again calculate the difference between the number of item slots that we had and the number of item slots that we now want to have. In this case, we'll reverse the order of the subtraction because we know that max slots is now a smaller amount than itemslots.count. This way, we can safely do the subtraction without getting any negative values. And now we just need to remove diff number of item slots from the list. Fortunately, lists have a convenient remove range method where we can provide as input parameters the index that they will use to start removing items. As we saw in our for loop, we will start at max slots index, and then we need to tell it how many item slots to remove, and this is our difference calculation. Last but not least, we'll override the start method and call our setMaxSlots method before the base class's start method, and that is because in the start method of our inventory script, that's where we assign all of the events to the item slots. And in order to do that correctly, we need to have all of our item slots already created. So we need to call our setMaxSlots before that. By doing this in the start method and passing in our maxSlots variable, which might seem a bit redundant because in the setMaxSlots method we are immediately assigning to that variable, but this will ensure that we have the correct number of slots that we defined in the inspector as soon as the game starts. The only reason that we are not calling this method in the onValidate function, as we've been used to do in most of our scripts, is because Unity doesn't really like us calling the destroy, or destroy immediate even, methods during onValidate. One thing that comes quite in handy, and I'm honestly not sure why we haven't done that yet, is refreshing the UI of our item slots in the onValidate method, by essentially just reassigning the values of the item and amount properties. Because, for example, all of the item slots that we duplicated for our infinite inventory, all of them have the item chest icon, but in reality they don't have any items in them. The image just stayed the same because we never told the script to update its UI. Finally, we can add our infinite inventory component to the infinite inventory game object. We'll need to tell it that the items parent is the content game object, and we'll need to give it the reference to the infinite item slot prefab that we created just moments ago. Our item slots have been automatically filled because we are extending from the inventory script, and the starting items list is of course empty because we haven't defined anything yet. Feel free to define whatever it is that you'd like. Unfortunately, we're getting quite a few null reference exception errors. Let's figure out why this is. By following one of these errors, double-clicking it in the console, we are taken to the item container class. This is telling us that null reference is happening in this line. This is because we are never checking if any of these events is null before trying to call them. Up until now, this hasn't been a problem because we've always been assigning listeners to all of the events. But for this inventory, which is isolated from everything else, the character script doesn't have the reference to it. Well, all of these events are going to be null. So we need to make the check as we have been doing everywhere else. Because our lambda expression no longer consists of a single statement, we'll need to add curly braces around it. And just for correctness, we should make the exact same changes in the equipment panel script. And this is it for the infinite inventory. We can now use this new inventory instead of our old one by simply dragging it to the inventory variable of the character script. And if we hit play mode, we can see that we no longer have our null references, all of the tooltips are working, and we can even equip items from this new inventory into the player's equipment panel. Or if you want to make this truly dynamic, you can override the addItem method to increase the number of item slots whenever the inventory is full and you try to add a new item. Accordingly, you should then override the canAddItem method to always return true. So that is all for today. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Cheers!